Dobry den, ja jestem Lisa.
And I'm Nick.
And you're listening to It Takes Two, the podcast where two people take two movies with the same plot or premise and watch and discuss them.
In this episode, we're covering off 2024's Spaceman and 2026's Project Hail Mary.
Yes.
Both of these movies are based on books.
Mm-hmm.
We both read Project Hail Mary.
Yeah.
And we highly recommend you go see Project Hail Mary if you can. Because obviously this episode is going to contain major spoilers.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk spoilers.
And I would also highly recommend reading the book before even seeing the trailer to this movie. It is written by Andy Weir, the same author who wrote The Martian, which is a very enjoyable book and an enjoyable movie.
I haven't read Spaceman of Bohemia, I think it's called.
Yes, Spaceman of Bohemia.
Which is a Czech book. I assume it's got an English translation because Adam Sandler must have read it before he decided to make that film. But I haven't read it, and I certainly don't know enough Czech to read it in Czech.
Yeah.
I can say hello, and that's about it.
You did at one point when you were learning... Because you were learning Czech before we went to... Prague.
Yeah.
And I think you could order a potato for your father.
yeah. That was the kind of... that I did try Duolingo. And it does give you sentences that you're like, is that really that helpful? I remember the word for carrot, and that's about it. Mrkev. Right? Mrkev is a carrot. I don't remember potato. I obviously did learn it at some point. And I was able to say, like, mother and father, and I've forgotten those.
And I think with like was another word you knew. Anyway.
Yeah, maybe. I think I had my please and thank you as well, but it's so far removed from any other language that I know that there's no, like, jumping off point for it, so I haven't retained it really.
The reason that we're comparing these both movies is a simple fact. It's about a lonely spaceman and a spider.
The reason I've been planning this since before I knew there was going to be an adaptation of Project Hail Mary.
You know why?
I was reading. So this is again. I mean, Nick's already spoiled a little bit. But again, this is going to be spoilers. So if you haven't watched Project Hail Mary, 100% recommend you go watch it first or read or watch it and then listen to this. But go in blind. Don't watch a trailer. Don't get yourself spoiled. Just go either watch it or read it or both. I was reading Project Hail Mary and I came to what I perceive as like a huge reveal that is revealed in the trailer, which is why I'm saying watch it without the trailer. And I was like, I'm so excited about this book, and also I really want Nick to read it. So I'd said to you that I wanted you to read it, or I thought you should read it when I was done with it. And I was like, it's so good. And then you said, is it about a guy alone in space and he comes across a big alien spider? And I was like, what? And then it turned out you had seen a trailer for Spaceman.
Yep.
And that you were just joking and somehow hit on pretty much exactly what the movie was about, or what the book was about. So literally at that point, when we discovered that we were talking about because I looked up whether Spaceman was an adaptation of it, and discovered obviously it's an adaptation of a different book. And at that point I was like, well, if they do an adaptation of Project Hail Mary, we should compare them. And here we are.
Yeah. We've
been literally waiting till we are recording this opening weekend of Project Hail Mary, because it's not coming out for... This episode isn't coming out for a little while, so people have had time to watch it. But we literally this is the Saturday of opening weekend, and we watched it on the Friday.
So, base premise: astronaut goes out to, or cosmonaut in the case of Spaceman, go out to a line in space that has got some freaky things happening with it,
like purple glowing particles.
Yeah. Or red glowing particles. Yeah, well, they both are purple, aren't they?
Yeah, they're both purple glowing particles that people on Earth that have suddenly appeared in our solar system, and the people on Earth don't know why they're there, what they're doing, what they're made of, and they've sent... Well, in one, it's a guy on a solo mission to go investigate it, but in the other,
It's a team.
But also that it's not to investigate it. It's after they've investigated. Well, it is still to investigate, but it's not to investigate what it is. They've already done that research on Earth.
Yeah.
But it's to go investigate why it's doing something different in a different solar system or a different galaxy. No, solar system.
It's funny because these two movies have the same, like, plot-ish. Ish. But the tone of both these movies is so very different.
Yeah.
For Spaceman, there is a very melancholy tone to it.
Yeah, ironically, the Adam Sandler one is the
more serious
and less comedic one.
Yeah. I feel like that's in Andy Weir's writing as well.
Yes,
because,
absolutely.
You know, if you've seen The Martian or read the book, you know there's a lot of monologuing, even though the person's alone. There's a lot of comedy in it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a huge Ryan Gosling fan, and his performance is also comedic.
Yeah.
The way he holds himself, the way he interacts with, his environment is funny.
I think he's the perfect casting.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. To go a little bit into trivia already, but just because I thought this was, didn't know this, and then was like, oh, okay. So the book was released in 2021.
Right.
The film obviously has just come out in 2026. When do you think Ryan Gosling signed on to play Ryland Grace?
When the book was released.
2020.
What?
He signed on to play Ryland Grace and produce the film a year before the book was released.
That's hilarious.
So when the book was released, Ryan Gosling was already set to play the lead role in a movie adaptation of it.
That's... But how did he know it was going to work out so well when the second... Because he's written The Martian... What's the second book he wrote?
Artemis. Yeah.
Nothing.
There is... a studio does have the rights to make a film out of that. Right. It just hasn't happened. But Project Hail Mary, they bought the rights for $3 million before the book was released. And Ryan Gosling signed on to, I think it was March 2020, so literally 6 years ago. Ryan Gosling signed on to produce and star in the movie, which is funny, but genuinely perfect casting.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, were there any tweaks made to the character between then and the release of the book?
You're saying he was just writing knowing that...
I mean, he obviously had already written a lot of the book, but I wonder, did he make any, or like going forward when he did do edits, did he think about Ryan Gosling playing him, you know?
There's a few scenes, because we haven't read Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
We haven't read all of Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's in space.
Spaceman and Bohemia, a novel from 2017.
Yeah.
It's like I said, the mood is very somber in this movie, and I wonder if the book plays into that because, like as I said, Andy Weir's writing is just a little bit more fun, adventurous.
Yeah.
Even in the sequences, like he writes suspenseful moments really well, and there's always like a twist or a turn that happens that is so gut wrenching, and it's such a like punch into your stomach.
Yeah. And
there were certain scenes in the movie and in the book that are harder in the book because you're the one, you can't pause. Yeah. You can't look away because otherwise nothing happens. You have to keep reading. Because that's how books work. For those Gen Alpha kids. You can't swipe up. Unless
it's like an ebook.
Yeah, I think you still have to turn the page left to right, but anyway. Train of thought derailed. I felt like Spaceman as a movie was just super depressing. Like the whole movie was just this weird drag of just human sadness set in science fiction. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. comparing these two movies together, one of them is IMAX quality, go giant bucket of popcorn, giant drink that'll make you need a pee halfway through the movie. Be there, like, IMAX ready, you know, explosions, cool stuff happening, lots of lights, lots of pretty. I think, did it come out on Netflix?
Spaceman?
Yeah, was Spaceman a Netflix movie? Pretty sure. Yeah, it was distributed by Netflix.
Did it not get a...
It might have.
Cinematic release, though?
Release.
I know it was impacted by the SAG-AFTRA strike. It had its premiere at the Berlin International Film Festival, so it did at least get film festival release, if not.
It definitely has intimacy where Project Hail Mary doesn't, if that makes sense. Because you feel very intimate in Spaceman. It is very, like, claustrophobic, less shiny. It is very, like, Eastern Europe-y in a way.
It's also very much about his personal life.
Yeah.
And that he is where he is. So they are kind of, both characters are in the position they're in because they're cowards. You just find it out. And both of those are things that you find out gradually through them gaining memories influenced by what's going on around them, which is interesting. Because in Spaceman it seems kind of like he's suppressed some memories. Yeah. Whereas in Project Hail Mary, he starts off the movie not remembering how he got to where he is, and then slowly building up the memories.
It's such a great reveal in the book because the flashbacks in the book work slightly mostly the same as the movie adaptation. Yeah, where it is him sort of not knowing stuff and then remembering small things, and then the parts where he's remembering stuff get larger and larger and larger as they're influencing him as he goes along. Yeah, with Spaceman, it is very much you're right. He is like not thinking about the issues in his life, and it is our titular spider in this, Hanush, who is literally drawing these memories out, and he's sort of like reliving them. And the character of Hanush and the character of Rocky, which are the other main characters, are very different.
Here's my pitch to you. Yeah. In the duos, I think Hanush is Grace and Jakob is Rocky. Because they've come to the same place seeking the same thing from two different solar systems. And one of them has a better actual scientific understanding of what's going on than the other one, and a better understanding of everything, and also is hiding from the other one that he's not going to make it back home. Yeah. Hanush
is an interesting character in the story. Yeah. Because Rocky their culture is completely alien, because he's an alien. Yeah. The fact that his ship had a crew of 23, and he's the last one left alive for something they didn't understand that existed, which is really sad.
It's kind of, I feel like it's kind of glossed over
in the movie.
But that reveal is so sad in the book. Yeah. Where it turns out like that the people of his planet were so desperate to figure out how to save their planet, and they like the people on Earth had figured out that this other solar system had the same thing happening but wasn't actually impacting, because in their solar systems essentially these particles that we see are consuming the sun, which means that all the planets are getting colder, and it's going to lead to like ice ages and things. So Rocky's planet, they had never invented space travel. Yeah. And they didn't have any concept of that, and they built a ship to send and managed to do that, but had no understanding of time relativity. Yeah. So he didn't know that time was passing differently back home than for him. and also no understanding of radiation.
Yeah.
And so all of his crew died of radiation sickness.
Yeah.
And that's horrifying.
Yeah.
In Spaceman, Hanush's species have all died.
Yeah. It was an interesting concept because, like, he's immortal, but not quite. Because he can go into space, but it's like, and it's what's the way of putting it? That he looks like a spider. There's some spidery aspects to him, but he is way grosser because they gave him a mouth. And
also weird tentacles.
Yeah, but he seems to be some sort of almost omnipresent creature who arrived at Earth to watch us, and then found him by himself with like this empty, like endless well of sadness.
Yeah, they're very telepathic, and they're like empaths, I guess, as well, so they can feel what he's feeling, and then they can also he can look into memories.
But there's some sort of like weird, also, like, because but it'd be very interesting to see how it's portrayed in the book. Because in the movie, he just gets consumed by maggots that seem to crawl out of him.
Yeah. So he does say to Jakub that like his planet was taken over by this like parasitic race, and he got away from it. But what he doesn't tell him is that he got away too late, and he has been infected by the parasite.
Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at the premise of the book. It's completely different to what we saw in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to look into...
So maybe they did steal from Project Hail Mary.
How? It came out several years earlier.
No, the movie didn't.
Oh, right. True.
My assumption was, the movie didn't steal from Project Hail Mary because it's based on this other book, but if the other book does not actually have that same premise, then maybe they just like said they were basing the movie on Spaceman of Bohemia, but they were actually doing Project Hail Mary. No, it's too different for it to be that, but it is also, there are also like huge similarities, obviously.
I'll tell you the one thing about Spaceman that I felt like it had, and it is the part that has stood out to me the most, is the cinematography in it is absolutely fantastic. Project Hail Mary has very there are moments in the movie that are absolutely gorgeous, and they would have been very, very expensive to create. Don't get me wrong. It's the scenes where it's just nothing's happening, or, you know, Adam Sandler's walking or doing something. There's just the cinematography in it is so much better than the acting, the direction. It is like the standout point of that movie. Like, you go into a movie, and this is why I enjoy the schlocky James Cameron Avatar movies, because they're pretty. Mm-hmm. The premise and the like plot and the dialogue is awful. But they're enjoyable to watch because it's explosions and big creatures and it's all CG and fun.
I just find that boring if there's no plot. I need plot.
You need plot. But yeah, I just... You don't like Adam Sandler.
Not particularly, no. I like him as a businessman in terms of, like, I appreciate that what he did was he got himself fame and money, and then he used that to just employ his friends and family over and over again to make things he likes. Yeah. I don't have to like his work. Yeah. I think, you know, I wish we could all do that.
His acting style is very yelly.
Yeah, which he is not in this.
Yeah, and it kind of feel like he... The thing about Adam Sandler performances is that they usually come off as unhinged. Mm-hmm. And because there was no snap, the suspense sort of like peters out. And there's like the moment of him just sort of like going through the ride. I feel like... Have we talked much about... We haven't talked about Moon in this episode, but we have talked about Moon on the podcast, right? At some point?
Probably not a lot, because we definitely haven't covered Moon.
I feel like the slow burn that eventually ends up in a moment of like snap is better done by Sam Rockwell in that situation. Because there is no snap in Spaceman, because he is basically, it's just like a therapy session between a very lonely person and an omnipotent spider.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's literally this guy learning, realizing, and he's been running away from his life and his relationship and his problems constantly. He seems to always be running away.
Yeah.
And he's putting himself in these isolating situations and volunteering to go into these isolation, missions. And then it's really talking it out with Hanush and getting memories unlocked and things that by the end of it, he's like, I really actually love my partner.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have done this. And I should have gone back to her.
It's interesting too, because when you get the flashbacks, you sort of there's moments where like the director who's in charge of the mission tries to explain that like the reason he is like this is because he's the only person who can go do this job, because he has to be like this emotionally distant, like just getting the job done kind of person. And that's kind of like the downplayed of like, well, he's emotionally distant. It's like, yeah, well, someone who can fly into space by themselves, being self-reliant, aren't going to be like hung up on, was I rude to that person because I didn't hold the door, or that kind of thing. You sort of have to be like a stone in the desert, kind of untouched, because otherwise you'd snap from just lack of human contact.
Yeah, and then, counter to that, you have Ryland Grace, who, though he is, and the movie pointed out that he doesn't have family, he doesn't have a relationship, whatever, it's still clear throughout his flashbacks, and also the way he's doing things, in present time, that, like, this is not really a man who you would expect to go off on this solo suicide mission, and everything you learn about him throughout it, you're like, this isn't the guy that should, and the whole time, and in the book especially, the whole time you're like going, when are we going to get to like how he ends up doing this, and then when you get to it, you go, oh no. And and that moment, I don't know if that's too much of a spoiler because it's so late in the movie, but that moment is big in the movie as well, that you're like, oh shit. And they kind of took things out of it, that I think, I can understand why they didn't add extra stuff to it, but like it was even worse in the book. Would be what I would say.
There's a lot of scenes in it that they trimmed for pacing, trimmed for, and also, I think, enjoyment as well. Not that I'm saying that there's certain points in the book that are written poorly. I'm just saying that, like, there are mistakes that get made and they are sort of, like, erased from the movie, probably for just, like,
time.
I think it's for time, and it's just to, like, Hollywood it up a little bit.
Yeah, and keep the attention span, because there's stuff like the very beginning. There's a lot of, like, the first few chapters are kind of pushed into like 5 minutes. Because there's things like the machines won't let him go through the doors till he can tell them his name, and he doesn't even remember his own name. And all of that is glossed over. I think something is the development of other characters, that obviously they wanted to focus on the development of Ryland Grace in the movie. And it's what's her name? Stahl? It's not Stahl, is it?
You know about the semi-love interest.
Yeah, it's I didn't read her as love interest in the book, I don't think, but she definitely did seem adjacent to that in the movie. Strat, Eva Strat.
I was reading it as she was a love interest
in the book.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There was definitely like some attraction there of her being like extremely distant, and it's very funny because Grace is this bumbling, brilliant idiot who's like very charming and awkward, and there's just like that moment of like her being so like emotionally and physically distant from everyone because she has to, because she's trying to solve like a catastrophic apocalyptic problem.
Yeah.
And he's all like, I keep accidentally solving the question that everyone keeps asking.
So what I was going to say is that she got a lot more development in the book.
Yeah.
And she's more of in line personality-wise with Jakob in Spaceman.
Yeah.
In that she's the one who is super emotionally distant and could not do her job if she wasn't.
Yeah.
And for example, a spoiler for the book if you only watch the movie, but in the book, she makes the decision to increase the overall temperature of the Earth by setting off nuclear warheads in Antarctica.
That's something that happens, yeah.
You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of decision she has to make, and that's the kind of ruthlessness she has to have and detachment that she has to have, because she is trying to preserve the Earth and the human race in the long run.
Yeah. And she also sort of has that authority to just be able to do whatever she kind of wants to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting character, and I feel like it's a little bit glossed over in the movie.
Yeah, but I can also understand why.
Yeah.
Because I really want the focus to be on Grace and Rocky. But even, like, I feel like Rocky gets better development in the book than in the movie. But you do still get the development of their relationship, which is, you know, the kind of core main thing that you want to focus on in the movie. And the same in Spaceman, that there is a big focus on the kind of developing relationship between Jakob and Hanush.
Yeah. It's, both movies are really enjoyable. Comparing them together, it's very one-sided, for me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Project Hail Mary, we both loved the book.
Yeah.
And it was a good adaptation and a good film.
Yeah.
So there's not much more you could ask for.
Yeah.
So, you know, so long as they didn't mess it up, we were always going to love that movie, I think. And I think they did a great job.
Yeah, it didn't. World War Z. Definitely did World War Z.
I did enjoy Spaceman.
Yeah.
I think it was an enjoyable film. But like you said, a lot more kind of bleak and depressing. Both of them do have kind of hopeful endings.
Yeah.
For Jakob in Spaceman, it's more of a personal hopefulness. And again, both of them have like the bleak almost ending and then the hopeful ending.
Yeah.
In Project Hail Mary, they added something to the movie that wasn't in the book, was that they actually showed you a glimpse of Earth receiving his what he sent them, which you don't get in the book. So that was kind of a nice touch and made sense for, you know, cinematic purposes, and also added to that kind of hopefulness of the ending.
It's very interesting because, like, there's more problems that they have to solve in the book that I feel like I mentioned earlier, have been cut out for pacing and time.
Yeah.
But it was very, very enjoyable nonetheless. Because there's more emphasis on the Beatles in the book than there was in the movie. Because they're only sort of like utilized last, which are like the probes that are supposed to return as findings because it is a one-way trip.
Yeah.
The overdosing on heroin only came up once, but it was like mentioned multiple times in the book.
Yeah.
Which is just like everyone gets to pick how they die, and one of the European people is just like, I want to OD on heroin.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, they literally get to like pick. So we're gonna, you know.
Yeah, they'll give them literally anything because they're sacrificing their lives to try and save the whole human race and the whole of Earth, not just humans, every species.
Yeah.
Or as many as can survive the beginnings of an ice age.
Because... No, that's spoilers.
Everything's spoilers.
But you remember the Beatles being more important in the book.
Yeah. I thought they cut them out entirely in the movie because I was like, oh, they've never mentioned them. And then it was just suddenly at the end he put the labels on them and it was like, oh, okay. But they were like present throughout the book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, there must be pacing and other stuff. The physical adaptation of Rocky was fun. Because in the book, obviously, you're just getting described something, so you sort of like picture it in your head.
I feel like he wasn't far off what I pictured.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
It's very weird. But like I really love the design of like his dermis, I guess. The fact that he was like wearing like tool racks and stuff later. I like the way the technology looked in the movie. Because it is very alien and it is all like 3D printed. I did like the moments. There's a lot of little moments, like character-driven moments in the movie that are very, very fun. I don't feel you get the same energy out of Spaceman. Obviously, as I said, the tone's different, but it's not two people solving each other's problems or their own problem or the together problem.
Yeah, it's just one person solving the other person's problem.
It's very much a therapy session.
Yeah.
And there is a physical and emotional distance to the point where, like, Hanush says, don't physically touch me. I'm assuming that's because I assumed at the beginning it was like some sort of weird, like, he's not actually there and you are insane.
Yeah, but
it
then
turns out
it's
like
the
a
parasite thing.
Parasite thing, but then like he completely ignores it later and was like almost kills him by pushing him against a bulkhead.
Yeah.
When he gets angry.
I'm not sure if it's clear whether Hanush is real or not.
Yeah.
To be honest. Rocky's definitely real.
I like the Rocky is voice acted by the puppeteer.
Yeah.
Because
also I love that he's a puppet and not just CGI, because you could have just done CGI.
The fact that they were like he was acting at each other.
Yeah.
And that's why they ended up using him as the voice actor.
Yeah.
Paul Dano was probably doing a great job
as Hanush.
But it doesn't really come across because there is like weird. He wasn't doing that with his voice. Like that feels
there's like weird effects over it.
Weird effects over it,
yeah.
And the mouth really annoyed me when you pointed it out.
I hated the mouth, especially because the first time he talks to him, he is doing it telepathically.
Yeah.
So he can just talk into his mind. So then why does he have to have a weird little mouth with teeth and everything in it, like human teeth, in a weird little mouth on this spider creature under its tentacles?
Yeah.
I didn't like that at all.
No.
Not a fan. Rocky was wonderful. I love the puppet. Perfect.
If you're a fan of Rocky, you're a fan of ours. Join our mailing list by going to our website at takes2.co.nz. You join Discord, join our social media, etc., etc., etc.
Why did you put that in there like that?
Who knows? Is there anything else you want to cover off? Because there's so much without like going step by step of like scenes we liked, how it was better in the book, how like it.
It's a fantastic movie.
It's a really great book.
Yeah,
read the book.
Really great book. I like that because the thing is that one of the big things for me in Project Hail Mary that is kind of missing, and it is kind of what you were saying, that they're working together to fix the problems, but it's also that they learn so much from each other.
Yeah.
I feel like Spaceman, it's very one-sided. Because I think they could have done it better if they had, like, if Hanush was trying to learn. But Hanush has already learned everything about humans. Yeah. Hanush has been observing humans and has learned everything about humans at the end. But if Hanush was trying to learn about humans or trying to learn about how, if it had, this is going into a different book that we both read, if it was like the relationship between Art and Murderbot.
Yeah.
If he was like trying to, because he's going through Jakob's memories.
Yeah.
But all he's doing is helping Jakob come to terms with his own memories. He's not like trying to learn how humans process emotions through that. Like if it was something like that and there was a tit for tat kind of that he was learning about this from him and Jakob was learning from Hanush. Whereas in Project Hail Mary, it's very much that like the Iridians, Rocky's race, have like a whole lot of advances that Earth don't have, but they also are really far behind in other things.
Yeah.
So they really are learning from each other in lots of different ways throughout the whole thing. It's never just like, oh, Earth are so advanced, so we'll teach you all these things. And it's also never just, you know, Ryle and Grace trying to learn from Rocky and nothing else. It's there's always a two-way channel there.
Yeah.
And even the fact that, like, you know, when they first meet and they're not communicating well because they don't know how to communicate, that they both go like, okay, let's figure out how to communicate, and then build a system together so they can actually communicate. And then you can see, like, the engineering stuff that Rocky can do is crazy. That he can create this metal, and he can create, like, glass and all this stuff, and do all these, like, cool things with it that wouldn't be possible on Earth. And then at the same time, Grace is able to teach him about a whole load of things. Especially, you know, the fact that we have this character who was a school teacher on Earth, and now is working to build communication network with an alien race.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's a shame that we didn't see more of a tit for tat in Spaceman. I would have liked if Hanush was learning something from Jakob instead of just Jakob growing from it and Hanush being the same the whole time.
Yeah. There is sort of like a last man on Earth, witness me kind of mentality with that whole thing of just like, hey, I'm going to die. I'm going to hang out with you until I do that.
Yeah.
Also, we're going to the same place.
Yeah.
Let me talk you through your relationship with your very pregnant wife who refuses to communicate with you via a light-based communication system.
Except she's not refusing to communicate. She's recorded messages and they won't send them to her.
Which is very Moon-esque.
Yes, very. Yeah. I did think that.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. Do you want to jump into some trivia?
Yeah, we can jump into some trivia. I feel like there was something else that I thought that I thought of that I was like, oh, this is the same with these two things, but I don't remember what it was. Trivia-wise, here's a bit of trivia from each film that are connected to each other, and then I'll go back to just doing one of each. Did I not write it down? Maybe I didn't write it down for Spaceman. But in Spaceman, there's a bit where he does like a press conference, and there's a teenager who asks him a question, and it's, I heard that you were the loneliest man on Earth. That actress is Adam Sandler's daughter.
Makes sense.
In Project Hail Mary, when Ryan Gosling was acting out scenes with Rocky, sometimes they would have his daughters, Esmeralda and Amanda, voicing Rocky through an earpiece in his thing, so they had his own daughters playing Rocky to him.
That's nice. So
he said, there's some moments in the movie where I'm laughing or just really charmed by Rocky, but it's actually just my kids talking to me and helping me out. So that's cute. Anyway, for Spaceman, what else have I got? Due to mixed reactions from test screenings, it was in post-production for 3 years.
Wow.
Which is crazy. I don't know why this was in here, because I took this down, but then it didn't seem to actually be contradicted in the movie at all. But the Czech Republic already had a cosmonaut, and it was Vladimir Renck, who flew into space on board the Soyuz 28 in 1978. He was the first non-Soviet, non-American astronaut.
Okay.
So outside of the Soviet Union and America, the first ever astronaut or cosmonaut was a Czech man. In pre-production, Adam Sandler and the production team talked a lot about and weighed up the pros and cons of whether the supporting cast, because I think they always were going to have Adam Sandler himself in the lead role, speaking in English, but they weighed up whether all the rest of the cast should be speaking in Czech.
Right.
Or made of a cast from all around the world, and then they eventually chose to do that, and they thought that it would be implicit in the film that everyone, including Adam Sandler, is speaking Czech the whole time, just coming across to us in English.
Right.
Which doesn't make any sense to me,
no.
and is wrong.
Yep.
It doesn't come across that way.
No.
It's just Adam Sandler being an American, and Carey Mulligan being British.
Yeah.
And I guess Lena Olin being Swedish.
Yeah.
And they're all Czech.
Yeah.
Anyway, in it, I brought this up because I thought we could have a personal anecdote here, but it's that he does so. Jakob tells Hanush about this legend that is a real legend in the Czech Republic, that the clockmaker Hanush, who built the astronomical clock in Prague, was blinded on the order of the Prague councillor so that he can't repeat his work, and then he disabled the clock and no one was able to repair it for 100 years. And I just bring that up because we have visited the astronomical clock in Prague. It was very cool.
Yep.
I liked it a lot. And then when they mentioned the movie, I got very excited. I was like, I've been there. Carey Mulligan, in the scenes where she's with Lena Olin, who's playing her mother, was actually 8 months pregnant in real life when she was filming those scenes where she's supposed to be 8 months pregnant in the movie. I thought that was fun.
Yep.
Project Hail Mary, I've kind of already talked about most of these. Yeah, pretty much I have talked about all these because Ryan Gosling was the only choice to ever be Ryland Grace and was cast before the book was even released. The rights for the novel were acquired by MGM in 2020 for $3 million.
Yep.
And the only other thing I took down then was that this was Sandra Huller's first American film.
Right.
She plays Eva Stratt, and she's been in lots of popular German language films over the years.
Makes sense.
Anyway, was there anything you wanted to add?
Not particularly. Other than, I hope you enjoyed watching the movies as much as we did, or at least reading the book. Read the book. Support books.
I haven't read Spaceman of Bohemia.
No.
Maybe I should.
Maybe you should.
Maybe I should.
I'm still reading Murderbot Diaries.
Yeah. We didn't talk about the fact that Jakob's father, in his original kind of non-repressed memory, he thought he was a pig farmer, and then it suddenly became very clear that it was not pigs that he was slaughtering.
Yeah.
And then as he revealed his unrepressed memories, he realized that he remembered that he was an agent for the Communist Party, the Czech Communist Party.
Yeah, there's all sorts of weird little moments in that movie, going through his therapy sessions.
Yeah, it does very much feel like therapy sessions. It's weird. Because they definitely have such an overarching similarity.
Yeah.
And quite a few of them. Like, it's not just like guy in space. It's guy in space meeting
giant spider,
multi-legged alien creature, and also going to investigate these purple glowing particles, and also having these memories unlocked, and also, there's like a whole load of things that you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the movies are very, very similar.
Yeah.
There's no doubt there. It's not like we're trying to convince each other and the audience.
No, they're definitely, I'm just saying it's more than just like, hey, it's two guys in space, that there's a lot of weird little kind of niche similarities. Even I feel like Isabella Rossellini's character is kind of adjacent to Eva Stratt in Project Hail Mary, and trying to go control things, and she's got that kind of distance thing, except that she's just obviously in the Czech Republic. She hasn't got that kind of universal global authority. But she goes to Lenka to be like, you need to record a nicer message to him. We can't send him this one. We need him to have this positive. She's very much controlling what the emotional state of the guy in space is, because she needs his emotional state to be a particular way for the mission to be a success.
Yeah, it's definitely the relationships I feel like Rocky's just so awesome and it just outshows everything. That's the problem.
Yeah, Rocky is so much better than Hanush.
Yeah.
In so many ways.
A tier list. It goes like this. It goes Rocky, Grace. That's the end of the tier list. Those are the good characters. In these two movies, those are the good characters. I think.
I liked. What was the guy's name? Was it Frank? The guy, the like security guard guy in Project Hail Mary, who he was.
Was it Carl? I thought it was
Carl. Carl. Yeah, Carl.
Yeah.
I liked him.
Yeah.
I thought he was good.
Yeah. But no, like Adam Sandler's character, not likable. Hanush, creepy. Obsession with Nutella, off-brand, like Czech Nutella.
I did think that was funny.
Yeah. I thought it was funny, but it was like disturbing because he has a human mouth.
Yes. I don't like his human mouth. And also, so initially he was using a spoon, but then later on he was just like scooping it up with his weird mouse tentacles.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that bit.
If you like this episode, please share it with somebody. If someone you know is raving on about Project Hail Mary, share this episode with them. Someone you know has read the book or seen the movie, please share the episode. It really helps. No matter who you share it with, it helps so much more than us like trying to get it otherwise. Because that's how algorithms work these days, to make certain people lots of money, being that they pay for it. So you get paid content regardless if you're paying for it or not. Because if it's free, you're the product.
That's true. If it's free, you're the product. Well, wait, I say that, but it's free to listen to this podcast.
Join our social media. Share with friends. Thank you for joining us.
We'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.